Welcome to Wild Talk. On today's episode, we're featuring Lydia Smith, an Idaho hunter, horse mom, and outdoor enthusiast. We'll also chat with Fraser Campbell from the Canadian National Sporting Clays Association, and then join us for a wicked social segment with our friend Kate Rundle, and then later, our friends at Umarex, who lead the way in air guns and more. Let's dive in this week on Wild Talk. We are back with more Wild Talk. I'm your host, Steve Hamilton.
We are back at it for another social segment on Wild Talk.
Wild Talk is brought to you by Aventura, Timber Stove, Hornady, and Wild TV Plus.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Wild Talk. Today, I am joined by Lydia Smith. She is a gal who I have followed on Instagram and social media platforms for years and years, and someone I have genuinely looked up to. She is a horse wrangling, she is a guide, she's an artist, she has many different titles. Lydia, welcome to Wild Talk. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be on here and talking to you guys. That means so much to me that you said all that. That's so sweet. No, I'm super happy to be here and talk to you guys.
Yes, we're so glad to have you. Honestly, we've been trying for a little bit. So I'd love to jump in. You and I both have a lot in common, and I'd love to start off with horses. I want to know exactly how you got into horses.
Oh, boy. I've been into them basically since I was a little thing, your typical horse girl, just all into anything sorts of horses. I grew up, collecting briars and all those fun things. Mm-hmm. My family actually didn't have horses, but my aunt did, and so that's kind of how I got my introduction to it. But I think when I turned 14, my mom and my aunt got together and got me my first horse, which was super awesome. I know, best present ever, and had him for a while and kept him at my aunt's house. And my plan was to just, trail ride with him, do all sorts of things, but I actually had to return him because he ended up being a cryptorchid.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you would know. You're probably...
Yeah.
So that basically means, one of their testicles did not drop. And so they still have stallion tendencies, but can't breed. They become dangerous and aggressive. And unfortunately, he was becoming that way. So I was really fascinated with the Extreme Mustang makeover. So when I was 17, I asked my mom, I was like, Mom, this is the last year I'm going to be able to compete in the youth division. Can you please let me do it? And she was like, go for it. So I applied and I got accepted, and they gave me a random Mustang, an untrained Mustang, which is the horse I have till this day, Kilchi, my little sorrel Mustang.
What was his name, sorry?
Kilchi.
Oh, okay.
So it's Native American, it's Navajo, and it means red boy. So he's sorrel. So that's the red horse color. Anyways. Yeah. So that's what I named him. I did the Extreme Mustang makeover with him and got third place with him, and it was super fun, and ended up just doing so much more on him. I've done literally everything you can think on that horse between, I don't know if you know what Gymkhana is or posse.
Yep, we have tons of Gymkhana up here where I'm from in Alberta, Canada.
Exactly. So I did a ton of that with him. We did drills. So we did some drills in parades and rodeos, which was super fun. I've broke colts on him. I've pushed cattle with him. I've done archery on him. I've mounted shooting. Literally anything you could think of, that horse has done. He is the most amazing horse. Aww. So upon getting him, I just fell in love with Mustangs because they were so versatile, and they were, his personality was amazing. He bonded so well. So I ended up getting 2 more last year.
I know you and your fiance do a ton of shed hunting, and honestly, that is one of my most favorite spring activities. Let's talk about your treasures you found.
Oh, absolutely. So I actually got into shed hunting before hunting, because getting into hunting was a lot more intimidating, and I just didn't really have anybody to really get me into it. So I started with shed hunting actually, and went out and I would just explore and I'd go look for antlers. I loved it as soon as I started doing it. One of my biggest sets that I have found was in New Mexico, and I found him, oh gosh, he was a brown side-by-side set, which was so cool. So I came around the like all these rolling cedar hills, and I come over this hill and I see one big antler lying there, and I'm like, oh my goodness. My dog goes over there and kind of goes around a tree, and I go up to it, and then I see the other side where my dog is. I was like, oh my gosh. That was just a wonderful moment. So I go and pick it up, and we go back and get it scored, and he was 363, and he was basically a 7x5, so he was actually really unique. Like, he had a giant 5 side with like a little teeny tine, and then he had a 6 side with a kicker on, I think, his 4th or his 5th. So really cool bull. He's definitely the biggest one I found. This year I did find a huge deadhead though, which is really cool. It's actually a spot that Sheldon has been going for years, and so he actually has multiple sets off that bull as well. And I ended up finding him as a deadhead, and I really sent in his teeth to get him aged, and he came back at 13 and a half years old, which is crazy. Yeah. And he scored 340 as a 5x5. He was big.
I couldn't even imagine the feeling walking up on that, especially a bull you have history with. It's devastating to find them that way, but he lived a wicked life.
I've only ever found a couple of sheds in my life, and it's never been intentional. It's driving down the road going, oh, look, moose antler, or walking through the trees. Oh, look, 4-point muley, but never anything of any size. Yeah, I'm not going to pass by.
I know you went and did a very special trip to Alaska last year, and you got a caribou. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so it was my first time to Alaska. I've always wanted to go, never been. Sheldon took me to a place he's been a few years in a row, and we hiked in quite a ways. Like, we woke up, I think, at midnight and started hiking. So, like, Alaska's different when it comes to the light stuff. But it didn't get light till, like, maybe 4, but we were hiking till about, like, 3 or 4, and we woke up at, like, midnight. So we were walking for several hours, and we got up on top, and it's just very open tundra country. And we started getting into caribou, and we were not being super picky, but like, we just wanted something decent that got us excited. We kind of passed up on a couple, and there was one bull that we kind of seen earlier on that we're like, maybe we should have shot him. So we actually went to go look for him, and ended up finding another herd on this little bench. And I was like, oh, there's a really nice bull in there. Like, and the funny thing is, I looked up with my binos, and like 3 seconds, I was like, we need to go over there. And so we start hiking. He's like, is it a good bull? And I'm like, let's just go. I'm pretty sure he is. There's no time to waste. And so we start hiking over there, and they actually ended up all bedding down. So it was perfect. Like, we didn't need to rush like I was doing. But I get antsy. So we get over there, and we're like 300 yards away from them on this little knob, and they're right below us, and they're just all bedded. And this bull's just laying perfectly broadside, you know. We looked at him for a while, and I was like, I really like that bull. Like, I think I'm going to shoot him. So ended up shooting him. It was absolutely perfect. Shot him. He like got up out of his bed, stood there, and laid back down, and he was done. So it was just beautiful. He died in like 15 seconds. The sad part is that we actually lost our caribou. And the thing is, like, we didn't even get a call from the taxidermist. Sheldon found it out from somebody who also went there the same time as we did. And he's like, oh, did you hear? And we're like, what? And he's like, yeah, the whole tannery burnt down. And we're like, what? Super sad. And the reason why, like, we didn't have our caribou sooner is because I was getting my hide tanned there so they could just ship it. But they'll cure the velvet and then ship it. And usually it's not too long, but I had my hide there still, and I don't think he had gotten to it yet. And unfortunately, everything burnt down to ash. And so we lost both of our caribou and lost my first caribou, which is really sad.
I know you do a lot of guiding. Can we talk about that? So what do you guide for? I'd assume elk, but how has your guiding experience been?
I'm trying to think how many years I've been doing it. So I actually started guiding, not in the hunting sense, but I did horse rides when I was 18. So that's when I started guiding for people. And I would do backcountry rides in the Sawtooth Wilderness and the White Clouds, so Stanley area. And I did that for 2 years, but I did my first year in Stanley. Should have stayed there, but it was a bit far away from where I live. And then did my next year in West Yellowstone, which was a horrible idea. I was like, no more of that. That was pretty rough. And so I think the year after that, I got into hunting. So when I was 20, guiding hunts, and started doing that in Utah for R&K, which is a pretty well-known hunting outfit. But it's been really cool. Like, guiding it definitely just opens up, like, you know, the skills, like learning the habitat, learning the animals.
Do you have Any more goals for 2024? What do those look like for you?
You know, I have quite a few. So I'm trying to make this the busiest hunting season I've had. We'll also go back to Alaska, hopefully. That's our plan. Hopefully, and get ourselves some more caribou since we lost out on bringing ours home. I'm definitely going to make a really big commitment to filming this year. So try and document and film my hunts, as well as a lot of my horse side of things. So this year I'm actually writing a bunch of stuff for rides that I'm going to do, like really long rides, overnight rides, and document those as well. So, and actually another thing that I've been working on for a long time and that I've had to postpone just due to not getting everything I've wanted yet is a documentary film about Rendezvous. And so it's been a project and a half. It's been a lot of work. I think I definitely bit off a little more than I could chew, but I'm hoping to have it done, wrapped up and ready to release by summer or late summer. So that's the goal.
That all sounds absolutely amazing. From everyone at Wild Talk and we want to say thank you so much, Lydia Smith, for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, Kate here for this week's social segment that we have officially renamed Kate's Wild Finds. Now, today's special guest, Lydia Smith, we're talking ultimate triple threat. This woman's an extraordinary hunter, horsewoman, and artist. So, due to Lydia's love for stallions, we've curated some pretty deadly horse videos that we're ready to show you in 3, 2, 1.
This is called snaking. It's how stallions in the wild move their herd.
Baby, I can win it. I can count.
Get on with you.
Look at me, Shrek. I'm trotting. Yeah.
Alrighty everybody, hope you enjoyed those videos. That's enough horsing around for me today, but I will see you next time on Wild Talk.
And we're back with more Wild Talk. This segment's going to be fun. I always love chatting with manufacturers and supporters of the outdoor spaces around the world. This one's going to be no different. I'm joined by Richard Turner from Umarex USA. Richard, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, so glad to be here.
So let's get into it right away. What is Umarex and where did it start?
Yeah, I tell you, I get that question a lot because of the name. So Umarex is actually about a 50-plus-year-old company. We're a German-based company, our parent company. And so back in early 70s, a couple of gentlemen, Wolf-Heinz Flammer and Franz Bonisch, two really entrepreneurial spirits, started Umarex in the German market. And it was really focused around air guns and blank firing guns and the shooting sports in there. And both of whom, the gentlemen, both passionate about that. One an engineering background and one sort of a sales and product concept background. So they really formed a great company together. And as it evolved, now, you know, in 2005, one thing's interesting is everyone always asked me about Umarex USA. Well, in 2005, the leadership really looked and said, you know, we don't think we're doing the best job we could possibly do to develop products and have a mindset for the North American market. And so they really had a concept to create Umarex USA as an independent subsidiary here. And we're focused entirely on North America, Canada, the US, and Mexico. And in that, we're focused on developing products, brands, and concepts and R&D all around products that are ideal for the North American market.
Okay, that's great. I know me here in Canada, one of the biggest barriers to a lot of these cool products we see from around the world is the import fees and the duties, and a lot of the stuff just can't come into North America. So that's really handy having something like that essentially right in our own backyard. This one might put you on the spot a little bit, but what's your favorite product that you guys sell and why?
So I'm at my nature. I'm a product geek. I really love the innovation side, the thinking through it side, and I'm not saying I'm good at it. I just love that process. And so, really, to me, a lot of the newer things, the big bore air rifles, we actually make like in our air archery line. So we actually have some guns that shoot arrows with air. And it was really an evolutionary process for us to figure that out so we could reliably and accurately shoot them. And I always enjoy products like that, mainly because it shocks people when you start talking about it with them. And so that's probably, for me, some of the newer technology is really cool. And that's probably where it lies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of where I expected you to go from a little brief chat so far, is ask me today and it'll be different tomorrow. And that's the coolest part about your products, is how they are evolving. I saw, it was a couple of years ago, it blew my mind. You touched on it briefly, was the bow, the arrow,
the air archery side.
The air archery. Like, how did that come up? Like, who had the brainchild, went, you know what, I think this might work?
You know, I'll say we were not the first to do it. Other people were doing it. But what we saw was, we think we can make this available to everyone at a price point that really allows everyone to participate in it, as well as buy the accessories. But we also looked at and said, okay, we want to create the ability to shoot at a certain power that competes with the best of archery products, be it vertical bows or be it crossbows or whatever, and repetitive accuracy at longer distances. And that's what we spend a lot of time on. And so you're not just developing the gun, but you're actually developing the arrow, the bolt of there. And you're trying to convert all that speed and energy together to be an efficient, tool, whether you're hunting with it or you're just having some fun shooting with it. And so we have various stages of those. We actually have a double barrel version. Then you can shoot the first and recock it real quick and switch the valve process to reroute the air and shoot a second round. So that always gets a lot of people's attention. What I'll say about Umarex that I'm so proud of is, we're a family-owned private company. We're in it for the long haul, and ownership's desire to invest in R&D and new technology is unparalleled for what we're doing, because they're not always worried about what we're going to look like next year. They're worried about what are we going to be in 5 or 6 years. Mm-hmm. And really the way to do that is a commitment to R&D and always developing the next concept. And so that's a fun side of the business I get to manage and be involved with on top of just the day-to-day businesses.
Yeah, that innovation and the improvement of what's already there is key. You go stagnant, and you unfortunately see it over a lifetime of being in some of these fields that we're in, like the outdoor field, is just, it coasts. But when you see Umarex continually wanting to raise the bar and stretch the 10 ring out there a little bit farther for the next person, that's absolutely amazing. So talked a little bit about the fun stuff, but let's dig into some of the obstacles that you guys have faced along the way. Anything that pops to mind?
I think for us from Umarex is, while we were a global presence for some time out of Germany, really in the North American market, our presence was through someone else, a distributor type business relationship. And so when we came to be 100% feet on the ground, building in North America with a full team and concentration on that, the obstacles are, we were sort of the new person on the block. And now we started Umarex USA. Our first day of business was in 2006. So look back, now I say we've been here, but I remember those first couple of years, we were the new person. Hey, let me introduce you to who we are. You may have seen some of our products offered through a different channel, or they've gotten to you, but this is who we are. And so I think anytime you're doing that, there were some really good and continue to be really good competitors of ours in the market, which we like because we want to elevate the overall concept of the market.
Yeah, it's 20 years in almost 20 years in the game. It shows some longevity and some belief in the products that you're putting out, and people are loving them, and that's key. So as we start to wrap this up, let's go out on a high note here. So what are some of the things we can look forward to in the future, if you can talk on just a couple of them?
Yeah, without giving anything up, I'd say for us, without talking specifically about products, I'd say we probably have about 6 or 7 different patents in process.
That's exciting. You say 6 or 7 patents to look forward to. That says right there you're changing the game and your R&D is top notch. So what is a couple of the consumer favorites there? You mentioned, we talked about air guns, but we didn't really get into airsoft. If you want to touch on that a little bit.
I tell you, one of the things in airsoft to me that's so much fun, and again, I grew up, I have three boys, hunters from an early age, air gun shooters and all that. But in our airsoft, this past year, a little bit more, we introduced our iTrace. So what iTrace is within an AEG, an automatic electric gun, so a 6mm airsoft gun shooting out. An iTrace is really a tracing unit that is right within the magazine well. So it's illuminating a tracer BB. Now, what's so fun about this is there have been tracer units in the past that might be an accessory that go on the end of the barrel, but this comes with the gun, runs off the same battery mechanisms than running the motor. But when you're shooting it, it's almost like a laser. And it for someone like myself, who I grew up, Star Wars was a magical experience for me. As a kid in a small town in the south of the U.S., I remember seeing Star Wars and laser guns for the first time. I said, this is incredible and magical. And now you go out and the tracer unit, and you can put that on semi-auto or full auto, and you can follow that round, and it looks just like the movies. And that's got my attention right now, because not only is it an accurate, high-performing product, but that extra feature really gets people's attention. And it's made night game play and sort of recreational play in dark conditions even more fun. And so on airsoft, that's probably got my greatest attention right now. We're offering that concept in 6 or 7 different products out there.
I didn't even know that was a thing on airsoft.
Oh, yeah.
Tracers.
The videos are great, and the sales and marketing group love to send them to me. I love when we see consumer feedback of using them in the market, because it really grabs your attention so much.
I think that's an absolutely perfect way to wrap it up, Richard. This is exciting. I cannot wait to see what Umarex has coming down the pipe in the next couple of years. Thanks for joining me today. I'm joined for this segment by Fraser Campbell from the CNSCA. Fraser, thanks for joining me today.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
So first off, that sounds like quite the mouthful there, the CNSCA. So what does it stand for?
CNSCA stands for Canadian National Sporting Clays Association. And it's a group that was formed back in 2010 to accommodate the sport of sporting clays here in a little bit more formalized fashion in Canada.
What exactly is your position within the organization then?
I'm the current president of the organization. I took that over a couple of years ago, just after COVID kind of decimated everything for a lot of different people in sports.
All right, it's time to have a look and see what we've got going on with our national championships.
Welcome to the 2024 CNSCA, Canadian National Sporting Clays Association National Championships. We're holding that championship this year in Vancouver at the Vancouver Gun Club. And there's been a ton of work over the last few days by target setters and all kinds of people involved in the event. We're about to get started. And we're expecting nearly 100 shooters, and it's going to be a great event. And we're going to go over and meet probably one of the most key people to this whole event, Ben Huswite.
Fraser, how are you?
I really appreciate you coming out. So do all the shooters. Ben has come from overseas to actually set this course. It's our CNSCA Nationals. and we're here at the beginning of this event, and he's in charge of making sure all of the targets are world class. So maybe just tell us a little bit about.
Yeah, I'm just sort of getting myself used to the range at the moment, checking out where the sun's going to be, making sure we don't have any conflict with bad weather and stuff. So it's just, we're going to spend a good half a day just taking note of sun movement, wind direction, asking a few locals, getting a bit of advice of local knowledge. They're going to know more than I do to begin with. So most of it's about listening first.
Over here, we have one of the most important people to this whole venue is Jason Willis. He's the Vice President of Vancouver Gun Club. And the Vancouver Gun Club has graciously accepted the role of hosting this event. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's our 100th anniversary, and we thought this would mesh well with the CNSCA Nationals.
Right. Good timing. All works together. People can come. The facility is fantastic. We can handle a lot of shooters. Not only can the shooters come and shoot, but they can also experience from different areas of Canada what Vancouver has to offer.
Absolutely.
Thanks very much, Jason.
My pleasure, Fraser.
We'll talk to you soon.
Dude, I called you.
Why don't you answer?
Where
is it? Where's the radio?
It was in the buggy. I called you. I did it
in your pocket.
Hey, I will put it in my pocket.
They completely missed that teal. Bone dry. The one in the wood.
Okay, let's go get it.
I've done it.
I thought I heard something. I'm like,
the finger spring snapped on the tower.
What's that?
The finger spring that cocks the machine snapped on the tower.
Oh fuck! I think it's someone.
I've been up there.
I thought you said someone
No,
snapped their finger.
The little spring
yeah.
snapped. No one's filled that midi all day.
The one over, okay.
On the high platform.
Okay. All right. I did honestly, man. I'm like, was that bit? Like, I'm like, I didn't even call it. It was. It was in my. Actually, it was in my pocket. Someone say something there?
Power on. 11.
You're on 10 and 11?
Yeah.
Did you want us direct advantage?
Yeah. Everything okay, Ben? You're like the sporting clay chef or whatever. What's that guy? Chef Ramsey?
Awesome. So yeah, sport shooting is something that I've taken up in the last 10 years or so. I've not really been formally introduced to it. And I know when I've gone out and done waterfowling, I've always needed more practice. I've watched some of you guys just in passing doing your thing, and it's incredible. And from our brief chat before we got rolling here, I know there's quite the history with sport shooting and clay shooting in general. You mentioned that the CNSCA started in 2010 here, but what was the catalyst for starting it itself?
Okay, well, I'll just give you a little bit of a history of the sport. There are a number of different shotgun. This is primarily a shotgun event. And this sport actually, many people probably don't know this, but it actually started as a pigeon shoot back in England, in London, England, back in 1812. So it's been around for quite a long time. So between 1812 and about 1885 or so, the sport of bird hunting, upland and lowland bird hunting, waterfowl became very, very popular. So in and around 1885, they introduced the concept of a practice and an initiation, a way to initiate people into the sport by introducing a small round clay target called a clay pigeon as a result of all that. So those were used. They're thrown out at various intervals and locations on a course to give people a much closer feeling of actual bird hunting. And that's what the sport was designed to do, was give people a chance to practice and learn the sport of bird hunting. Sporting clays has become extremely popular because whatever club you go to shoot, there will be no presentation that will be the same that you've seen before. So every club shoots different presentations, different targets. They come from different directions.
Yeah, it's a diversity of targets. At the end of the day, trap has a limited range of target options. You're going to have targets going to the left, to the right. You're not really sure where they're coming from, but they're always going away from you, and they're always going the same speed. Whereas when you go to a sporting target, you're going to have a lot different target presentations, different speeds, different approaches. They could be from the left, from the right, over your head, coming at you.
Nemesis rabbit.
The rabbit targets. One of our big challenges that you'd never see in a trap shoot is a rabbit target. So I think sporting makes you a better overall shooter because of your diversity of skills that you need to be good in sporting, and that will translate into better trap shooting, better skeet shooting. Sporting clays is the sort of the MMA of the target world because you need so many different skills to be good at it.
So I think that has driven the popularity of the sport a lot. Rather than shooting the same thing over and over. I'm not disparaging trap or skeet. I think they're both great sports, but I think that a lot of people have come to sporting clays just because of the variety. And every time they go to a club, they never know what they're going to be seeing. And the reason for that is when you go bird hunting, you never know where the birds are going to fly from.
Mm-hmm.
So it's as close as you can get to real bird hunting.
How many competitions would there be?
Oh, gosh, I couldn't even count the number of sporting clay clubs across Canada or in the U.S. There are just thousands of clubs, and this is a sport that can be shot all year round, whether it's snowing or it's raining or the sun's shining. And I have one of the provincial affiliates president, Ron Nemechek. He's our BC affiliate president. And he's a very integral part of the organization. We have affiliates across the country in each province, and that is what really drives the whole organization. So Ron, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, the BC Sporting Clays Association was formed to bring ladies, juniors, and more shooters into the sport. It's something that I think is great. Obviously with this weekend, it was proofs in the pudding. And that's our agenda. And hopefully it will become part of everybody's life.
In Canada, there are probably fewer shoots, but you could find a shoot on every weekend throughout the year in Canada somewhere.
For somebody like myself who's not big into that, how do people qualify for these events?
Well, it's really it's an event that allows you to compete more or less against yourself. What's really important for any sport is to make sure that you're growing. At CNSCA, we try and encourage our youngest shooters to come into the sport, and we try and support them as best we possibly can to give them the best experience possible. One of our shooters, local shooters, Carson Ingram, is a younger shooter, obviously younger than me, but he's been in the sport for 2 years now, and he has really excelled. He's gone from an entry-level shooter and is now actually in our highest class, master class, as a master class shooter. Can you just tell us a little bit about your experience getting there?
Yeah, really, I had a couple friends and we just started, shooting a little bit, went to the local club once, and we were, introduced to CNSCA. And once we did our first registered shoot, that really kind of got the wheels spinning, and we've been hooked ever since. The community behind it's great. Everybody's super willing to help out, and we're just having a ton of fun.
The whole idea is that you want to get better as time goes along, so you shoot more and more. Your averages go up. You do shoot in competition against other shooters that are kind of around your average. So it's broken out. There's a dozen or so different classifications. The higher average that you have, you'll shoot against the same people in that particular average group. If you were interested in getting into the sport, all you would have to do is just find a club that was near you that puts on a sporting clay event. They're the most friendly people you could ever find.
How was the morning?
Well, we bled targets. But it's getting better. Hopefully stop the bleeding here this afternoon.
They will help you in any way, shape, or form, and everyone wants the sport to grow. Just come on over this way. I want to show you a little bit of what's going on over here, and one of the people who's critically important to this whole event, Mike Berger. Nice to see you. Mike is here. He's in charge of setting up a lot of the course, putting these machines out so that they fire in the right direction, different movements, right? All through the weekend.
It's going to be a very busy weekend. We got a lot of targets to throw, so a lot of moving machines, a lot of setup, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, all shooting sports have a very, very high degree of safety is like number one as the mantra, right? We have safety meetings before every shoot. You may have been to 10,000 shoots, but you have the safety meeting just to remind you, don't put the smaller ammo in a larger gauge gun and that kind of thing, just because those things do happen. And, you know, the last thing you want is have an accident on a gun range. So,
yeah.
And we have a lot of women that have excelled in the sport, actually. You'll see one of the ladies that has really excelled. I have with me Tiffany Sprinkles. Nice to see you, Tiffany.
Yeah, nice to see you again.
She's been a very big part of the organization. She's on the actual CNSCA national board. She also started shooting about 4 years ago, and she has really excelled. She is at the point now where she's at the highest level of competition possible in our organization. And part of what we are trying to do is obviously include ladies in the sport. And I just want to ask you a couple questions about how that works for you. How do you feel about being in CNSCA?
It's great. I started shooting just in the bush with my husband with a couple trap machines. We didn't really know the sporting clay world existed, and we went to a local club and gave it a go, and then pretty quickly everyone was quite welcoming, and we registered for our first CNSCA shoot the year we started shooting in the summertime, and we got to meet
I remember that.
then. Yeah.
And so what do you think about other younger women joining the organization? Do you think that's a good thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Any age, really, but yeah, younger women, kids, everyone. It's a lot of fun, and everyone's really welcoming, and I love it.
You get to experience a whole different world, right? Than what the average
And initially
person
I was, nervous to join it, but once you get involved, it's like very safe, and you're comfortable with everyone. Everyone follows the same rules. So I've really enjoyed it.
Well, congratulations on your achievements in the shoot and all the achievements overall.
Yes, thank you.
Really appreciate having you on.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Oh, it's incredible watching the growth of women in hunting and shooting in general. Speaking of growth, what kind of growth have you seen in the sport shoot or the sport clays community? I know you mentioned that the CNSCA started in 1980, so I imagine you've seen some explosions, pardon the pun.
Yeah, it actually was 2010, but for Canada,
right?
But in 1980 was the U.S.
Yes.
But we got growth was on quite a very high trajectory for everyone until 2019, 2020 when COVID hit. And then we were hit with all kinds of restrictions about how many people could be on a squad or how many people could be at a shoot or whether you could have dinner or you couldn't have dinner. And it seemed like everything kind of slid, not to a grinding halt, but, it went backwards a little bit. So now we're on a trajectory again, back growing and building, and we've increased our membership by over 30% this year. So it's coming back. What happens to a lot of shooters like maybe you, and certainly I shot when I was young, grew up in the prairies, shot quite a bit when I was younger. And then as my career changed and I was flying all over the place and, in the cities and all the rest of that kind of stuff, it kind of the guns got put away, right? And you end up with kids and you're starting, the young families and that kind of thing. And then at some point you kind of come back into it. If you're not in a rural community where you can shoot all the time, it's a little bit tougher. So what we're finding is a lot of people come back into it later, especially if they've shot early in life.
Without dating yourself, how long have you been a part of this sport?
Well, I mean, mid-60s now, and I've shot since I was like 10 or 12 years old too, so specifically in this sport, more so probably in the last 8 years, right? Developing and then working through being part of the board and just sort of help continue the whole sport.
Right. So something we haven't touched on is what's the predominant firearm that's used in this? Is it 12 gauge? Is it 410s? Is it 20, or is it a mix?
Yeah, well, the predominant gun, we consider sporting clays to be sort of a 12 gauge event, right? However, at many of our shoots, because many shooters own 410s and 28s and other gauges, for a longer event that is shot over 2 or 3 or 4 days, we'll put in special events that have a competition for sub gauges for 20, 28, and 410. So we lighten up the targets a little bit so they're a little bit closer, a little easier to hit, and people go out and have a lot of fun with that too. But our standings and our competitions are primarily based on the 12 gauge event. We're featuring Cesar Guarini, who have a very popular line of guns and products that a lot of shooters use. Chris Weidenfelter.
Hey Fraser, how are you today?
Very well.
Great.
Can you just give us a little bit of a rundown of what you've got here, or what you've got displayed?
Yeah, absolutely. Cesar Guarini, Italian gun manufacturer, build top-end competitive shotguns for the sporting, trap, and skeet markets. We also build some great field guns. But here at the CNSCA Nationals, we have a selection of sporting guns for the competitors to try and demo while they're here. In fact, Cesar Guarini's foundational philosophy right from day one has always been build the best shotgun for the price point. In our Summit series, you walk into a gun store and you have $7,000 and you want to buy a shotgun, you're not going to be able to buy a better gun than a Summit Sporting.
Yeah. So you're based where?
Just outside of Ottawa, in Ontario.
Out of Ottawa. So you came all the way from Ottawa out here to shoot?
Did. Yeah. Shipped
Beautiful.
everything, flew over.
Yeah, shipped everything ahead.
Great, yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming. Your sponsorship is a very important piece to this whole puzzle, as you know. And we'd love to see you again sometime.
Super cool. We'll definitely be back.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Fraser.
Take care.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. I can only imagine, though, what it would feel like and what your shoulder would look like after a weekend of shooting a couple hundred rounds from a
Well, on a weekend, it's not untypical for a major event to shoot nearly 1,000 rounds per person.
So as we wrap this up, Fraser, where do you hope to see this sport grow in the future?
Well, we just hope that the regulations allow us to continue the sport and continue to grow it and allow people to go back and forth across the border to the U.S., particularly from Canada and the U.S., because we do get a number of shooters coming up here from the States. There's a lot of shooters in Ontario that go down to New York and around because it's very close in the eastern part of Canada. And we're just hoping that they just back off and leave us alone, and hopefully we can continue to grow the sport and allow more people to get in and enjoy something a little different.
Yeah. And the best way for people to help protect your firearms rights is to continue to help sports like this grow.
Correct.
Sign up, be a member of your local rod and gun club. Get out, enjoy these sports. Invite your neighbors, invite your family, invite your friends, invite those that may be a little apprehensive about firearm use. Show them how much fun and how safe it really is, and continue to support organizations like yours.
Right on.
So a huge thanks for all you do from us at Wild Talk, Wild TV, and for firearms owners and firearms users. So again, Fraser, thanks for joining us today.
No problem. Thank you for having me, and we look forward to the final program.